It was a bright, sunny afternoon. The kind of day where kids run around and laugh, and parents sit on benches, chatting or watching. The place was a small, quiet neighborhood, a spot where houses sit close together, and people wave hello like they're all friends. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. In this little world, Maria Jones was just a regular mom. She was at the park, pushing her son, Liam, on the swings. Liam was 4 years old, a happy little boy with bright blue eyes that twinkled like stars in the sunlight. His skin was pale, almost white, and covered with tiny freckles that looked like someone sprinkled them on his cheeks. Maria looked different. Her skin was a warm brown, like the color of hot cocoa, and her dark hair was pulled back into a neat ponytail that bounced when she moved. They were having fun, Maria pushing, Liam swinging, both of them laughing loud enough to fill the air. To them, it was just another happy day. Nothing special, nothing strange. Or so they thought. But someone else was there. Someone who wasn't laughing. Across the park, near the big oak tree, stood Karen. Yes, that Karen, the kind of person who always has something to say, even when no one asks. She was older, with short hair and a frown that seemed stuck on her face. Her eyes were squinting hard, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. She stared at Maria and Liam, watching every swing, every giggle. To Karen, something didn't look right. Something didn't fit in her head. Maria was brown. Liam was white. And to Karen, that was a problem. A big one. She pressed her lips together tight, like she was holding in a secret or maybe a shout. Trust me, folks, this lady wasn't going to just sit there and let it go. Oh no. Karen was the kind of person who pokes her nose where it doesn't belong, and today, she was ready to stir up trouble. The park was busy that day. Other kids ran around, chasing each other or sliding down the big red slide. Moms and dads sat on benches or pushed strollers, talking about school or the weather. Birds chirped in the trees, and the sun made everything feel warm and cozy. Maria didn't notice Karen at first. She was too busy with Liam. Higher, Mommy, he yelled, kicking his little legs as the swing went up. Maria smiled big and pushed a little harder. Hold on tight, she said, her voice soft and happy. Liam's giggles floated through the air, mixing with the sounds of the park. To them, it was perfect. Just a mom and her son, playing together like they always did. Maria loved these moments. She worked hard every day, and coming to the park with Liam was her favorite thing. It was their special time. She didn't care what anyone thought, well, not yet. Karen, though. She cared a lot. Too much, maybe. She stood there by the tree, arms crossed, her frown getting deeper. She didn't know Maria. Not really. She'd seen her around the neighborhood a few times, walking with Liam or carrying grocery bags. But that was it. Karen didn't talk to her. Didn't wave. Didn't even smile. And now, watching them at the park, Karen's brain was buzzing. That boy doesn't look like her, she mumbled to herself. He's too white. Too different. In her mind, moms and kids were supposed to match like puzzle pieces that fit just right. Brown moms should have brown kids. White moms should have white kids. That's how Karen saw the world. And when things didn't fit her picture, she got mad. Real mad. Maria and Liam kept playing. After the swings, they moved to the sandbox. Liam grabbed a little blue shovel and started digging, his tongue sticking out a tiny bit as he worked. Maria sat on the edge, clapping when he showed her a pile of sand. Good job, buddy, she said, ruffling his hair. He grinned up at her, his blue eyes shining. Anyone watching could see how much they loved each other. They didn't need to look the same to be a family. But Karen wasn't watching with love. She was watching with questions. Mean ones. She pulled out her phone and started typing something, her fingers moving fast. Maybe she was texting a friend. Maybe she was taking notes. Whatever it was, it wasn't good. The truth is, Maria didn't even know trouble was coming. She was just a mom enjoying the day. She didn't hear Karen muttering. Didn't see her staring. Didn't feel the storm that was building across the park. To Maria, the world was sunny and simple right now. She had no idea that Karen was about to flip everything upside down. But that's how stories like this start, right? With a regular day that turns into something wild. Something you can't look away from. And trust me, this one's going to get crazy. So, here's the thing, Karen wasn't just nosy. She was the kind of person who thinks she's the boss of everyone. She'd lived in this neighborhood forever, and she liked things her way. New people? Different people? They made her nervous. And Maria was different. Not just because of her skin, but because she was strong. Quiet, but strong. She didn't brag or shout. She just lived her life, raising Liam with love. Karen didn't get that. She didn't want to. All she saw was a mom and a kid who didn't match, and that was enough to set her off. The park kept buzzing around them. A little girl with pigtails ran by, chasing a ball. A dog barked near the fence. The ice cream truck jingled down the street, making kids cheer. Maria and Liam didn't notice any of it. They were in their own little world, happy and safe. But Karen? She was ready to crash that world. She took a step closer, then stopped. She didn't say anything yet. Not out loud. But her eyes said it all. Trouble was coming. Big trouble. And it was only a matter of time before it hit. So, tell me, where are you watching from today? Are you at home, at school, maybe outside somewhere? And if you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button. I've got more coming, and you won't want to miss them. What do you think's going to happen next? Drop your guesses in the comments. I can't wait to see what you say. Maria was having a great time at the park with Liam. She didn't see Karen at first. She was way too busy helping her little boy have fun. Liam was zooming down the big red slide, his giggles loud and happy. Maria stood at the bottom, arms out, ready to catch him. Liam shouted as he slid down fast, landing right in her hug. They both laughed, big and bright, like nothing could go wrong. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and the park was full of kids playing. Maria felt happy. She loved these moments with Liam. It was just the two of them, enjoying a perfect day. She didn't think anyone was watching her in a mean way. Not yet. But Karen? Oh, Karen was watching. And she wasn't happy. She stood across the park, near that big oak tree, her arms crossed tight over her chest. Her face looked grumpy, like she'd just bitten into a sour lemon. Karen wasn't there to play or relax. Nope. She was on a mission. A big, nosy mission. She didn't like what she saw Maria and Liam together. To her, it didn't make sense. She stared hard, her eyes small and squinting. Then she started walking. Not slow, not nice. She marched over, her shoes crunching on the gravel path, loud and fast. She stopped right in front of Maria and Liam, standing tall like she owned the whole park. "Excuse me," Karen said, her voice loud and sharp, like a bark from a big dog. "Whose kid is this?" She pointed at Liam, who was still giggling from the slide. Maria turned around, surprised. She wasn't expecting anyone to talk to her like that. She blinked, confused for a second, then smiled. Mine," she said, nice and calm. "This is Liam, my son." She patted Liam's head, thinking that would be it. Most people would smile back, maybe say, "Oh, he's cute," and walk away. But not Karen. Oh no. Karen's eyes got smaller, like little slits. She didn't smile. She didn't say anything nice. Instead, she leaned forward a bit and said, "Yours." "Really? He doesn't look like you. Where'd you get him?" Those words hit Maria like a cold splash of water. The air around them felt heavy, like a big storm cloud had rolled in. Maria's smile went away. She didn't know what to say at first. Liam looked up at her, still happy, not understanding what was happening. Maria tried to keep things light. She laughed a little, just a small chuckle, and said, "He's mine, don't worry about it." She hoped Karen would just go away. Maybe it was a silly mistake. Maybe Karen would shrug and leave them alone. But Karen wasn't done. Not even close. She stepped closer, so close Maria could see the lines on her grumpy face. Karen's voice got sharper, like a knife cutting through the air. "I don't believe you," she said. "People like you don't have kids like that." Ouch. Those words hurt. They stung Maria right in her heart. People like you. What did that even mean? Maria's brown skin? Her dark hair? Liam's white skin and blue eyes? It was mean, and it wasn't fair. Maria felt her chest get tight, but she didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just stood there, holding Liam a little closer. Liam didn't notice. He was too busy kicking at the sand under the slide, humming a little song. But Maria noticed. She felt the sting. She saw the way Karen looked at her like she was doing something wrong just by being a mom. It wasn't right. Not at all. Karen kept staring, waiting for Maria to say something else. But Maria didn't want to fight. Not here, not now, not in front of Liam. She took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. Inside, though, she was mad. Really mad. Who was this lady to talk to her like that? To say Liam wasn't hers? Maria knew the truth. Liam was her son, her little boy, born to her and her husband. They were a family, no matter what anyone thought. But Karen didn't care about the truth. She only cared about what she thought she saw. And what she saw made her mad. The park was still noisy around them. Kids laughed and ran. A ball bounced nearby. Someone's dog barked in the distance. But right there, between Maria and Karen, it felt quiet. Too quiet. Like the world was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Maria hugged Liam tighter, feeling his little arms wrap around her leg. She didn't want him to hear this. She didn't want him to feel the mean words. He was just a kid, a happy, silly kid who loved slides and swings. But Karen? She didn't care about that. She kept standing there, arms crossed, waiting for Maria to explain herself. Like Maria owed her something. What Karen didn't know was that Maria wasn't just any mom. She wasn't weak or scared. Inside her, there was a big, strong fire, a strength that had helped her through tough times before. Maria had a story, a big one, full of hard days and big wins. She wasn't going to let some grumpy lady ruin her day or her life. But right now, she didn't say that. She didn't tell Karen anything. She just stood there, quiet and steady, holding Liam close. Karen thought she was winning. She thought Maria was scared or hiding something. But she was wrong. So wrong. The tension kept growing. It was like a rubber band stretching tighter and tighter, ready to snap. Other people in the park started to look over. A mom pushing a stroller slowed down, glancing at Karen's loud voice. A dad on a bench turned his head, curious. They didn't know what was going on, but they could feel it, something big was brewing. Maria saw them looking, but she didn't care. She wasn't ashamed. She had nothing to hide. Karen, though. She loved the attention. She stood taller, like she was the star of some big show. She thought she was right. She thought she was smart. But she didn't know the whole story. Not yet. Maria's mind was racing. Should she walk away? Should she say something back? She didn't want trouble, but she didn't want to let Karen win, either. Liam tugged at her hand. "Mommy, can we go swing again?" he asked, his voice small and sweet. Maria looked down at him and smiled. "Sure, buddy," she said softly. She wanted to keep his day happy. She started to turn away, but Karen's voice stopped her. "You can't just walk off." Karen snapped. "I'm talking to you." Maria froze. She didn't turn back around, not yet. But inside, that fire was growing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Karen had no idea what she was starting. She thought she was big and tough, but Maria? Maria was tougher. And soon, very soon, everyone would see it. Days went by after that messy day at the park, but Karen didn't stop. She wasn't the kind of person to let things go. Nope. She kept talking, kept poking her nose where it didn't belong. Every time Maria and Liam walked by, Karen was there whispering to neighbors, pointing with her bony finger. "Look at that kid," she'd say, her voice low but mean. "He's too white to be hers. Something's fishy. I'm telling you, it's not right." She said it over and over, like a song stuck in her head. At first, it was just Karen talking to herself or maybe one friend. But soon, other people started listening. Neighbors who used to smile at Maria now looked at her funny. Their eyes followed her and Liam everywhere, like at the grocery store, the park, even their own front yard. Liam didn't see it. He was too little, too happy. He'd skip along next to Maria, holding her hand, talking about his favorite cartoons or his toy trucks. "Mommy, can we get ice cream?" he'd ask, his blue eyes big and bright. Maria would nod and say, "Sure, buddy," with a smile. To him, everything was fine. The world was still sunny and fun. But Maria? She saw it all. She felt the stares, like little pins poking her skin. At the store, a lady in the cereal aisle turned her head too fast when Maria looked back. At the park, two moms on a bench stopped talking when she walked by, their whispers starting again as soon as she passed. Even in her own yard, she'd catch someone peeking over the fence or slowing their car to look. It was annoying. It was mean. And Maria was getting tired of it, really, really tired. Karen didn't stop with whispers. Oh no. She got bolder. One sunny afternoon, Maria and Liam were in their front yard. Liam was playing with his toy trucks, red ones, blue ones, even a yellow one with a little crane. He made vroom vroom noises, pushing them through the grass, happy as can be. Maria sat on the steps, watching him with a smile. It was a quiet day, the kind where you can hear birds and feel the breeze. But then, Maria looked up. There was Karen right at the fence between their yards. She wasn't just standing there. She had her phone out, holding it up, snapping pictures of Liam. Click, click, click. Her face was all scrunched up, like she was a detective in a movie. Maria's stomach flipped. What was this lady doing? Why couldn't she just leave them alone? Maria stood up slow, her eyes locked on Karen. For a second, Karen didn't notice. She kept taking pictures, muttering to herself. "Proof," she said under her breath. "I need proof." Proof of what? That Liam wasn't Maria's? It was silly, but Karen didn't think so. She thought she was onto something big. Maria's heart beat faster. She didn't like this, not one bit. Liam kept playing, pushing his trucks, not seeing a thing. But Maria had had enough. This wasn't just whispers anymore. This was too much. She didn't yell, though. She didn't run over and grab Karen's phone. Not yet. Instead, she did something smart. She watched Karen right back. She crossed her arms, stood tall, and stared quiet and steady, like a big storm cloud waiting to burst. Karen finally looked up and saw Maria watching. Her eyes got wide for a second, like she'd been caught with her hand in a cookie jar. But then she huffed, turned around, and marched back to her house, still holding her phone tight. Maria didn't move. She just kept standing there, thinking. She wasn't going to let this go on forever. Karen thought she was weak, someone she could push around. But Karen didn't know Maria, not really. Maria wasn't just a mom who liked park days and ice cream. She had a past, a big, strong past full of tough stuff she'd already beaten. Little hints of it started slipping out, like secrets peeking through a crack. See, Maria wasn't always just a mom in a quiet neighborhood. Before this, she'd faced bigger battles than a nosy neighbor with a phone. Back when she was younger, she'd dealt with mean people who judged her, who tried to stop her. And guess what? She won. Every time. She didn't talk about it much, but it was there, inside her, like a superpower she kept hidden. Maybe it was a bully at school who learned not to mess with her. Maybe it was a job where someone said she couldn't do it but she did. Whatever it was, it made her tough. Not loud tough, not mean tough, but quiet tough. The kind that waits and watches and then surprises you. Karen didn't see that. She thought Maria was just some lady she could scare. Big mistake. The days kept going, and the stares didn't stop. One morning, Maria took Liam to the store for milk. A man in a red hat looked at them too long, then whispered to his wife. Maria heard that kid and her and rolled her eyes. Another day, at the park, a lady with a dog asked, "Is he yours?" like it was a big mystery. Maria said, "Yes," short and sharp, and walked away. Liam didn't care, he was busy chasing a butterfly. But Maria's patience was running out. She wasn't mad at the neighbors, not yet. They were just listening to Karen's silly stories. Karen was the problem. Karen was the one making everything weird. Back at home, Maria started thinking harder. She'd see Karen outside, watering her flowers or talking to someone, always looking over at Maria's house. One time, Maria waved, just to see what would happen. Karen didn't wave back. She turned away fast, like she'd been caught again. Maria smiled a little. She wasn't scared of Karen. She was tired, sure, but not scared. And that's when she decided enough was enough. She wasn't going to fight with fists or yell loud words. That wasn't her way. But she was going to do something. She'd show Karen and everyone who she really was. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. What was Maria hiding? Oh, it was good. Really good. She wasn't just a mom with a cute kid. She had a story, a big one that would turn this whole mess upside down. Karen thought she knew everything, but she didn't know anything. Not yet. The neighbors thought they could stare and whisper forever, but they were wrong too. Maria was like a superhero waiting for the right moment. And when that moment came, oh, you'll see. It was going to be big. Really big. It all happened on a Saturday morning, a day that started quiet but turned loud fast. Maria and Liam were in the kitchen, baking cookies. The house smelled sweet, like chocolate and sugar. Liam stood on a little stool, his hands messy with dough, giggling as he pressed cookie shapes onto a tray. "Look, Mommy, a star," he said, holding one up. Maria smiled big, wiping flour off her hands. "Perfect, buddy," she said, ruffling his hair. The sun peeked through the window, making everything warm and cozy. They were happy, just the two of them, singing a silly song about cookies. It was a perfect moment until it wasn't. Outside, sirens started wailing. Loud and sharp, they cut through the air like a scream. Maria stopped singing. Liam looked up, his blue eyes wide. "What's that?" he asked, a little scared. Maria frowned and peeked out the window. Red and blue lights flashed in front of her house. Her heart jumped. What was going on? Before she could figure it out, someone knocked on the door hard. Bam, bam, bam. Maria wiped her hands on a towel and walked over, Liam following close behind. She opened the door, and there they were, two police officers, big and tall, standing on her porch. One had a hat, the other didn't. Both looked a little nervous. "Ma'am," the hat guy said, his voice low and awkward, "we got a call about a possible situation." He scratched his head, like he didn't want to be there. Maria blinked. "A situation?" she asked. "What kind?" She didn't get it. Everything was fine, well, it was fine until now. Then she saw her. Behind the cops, standing on the grass with her arms crossed, was Karen. That Karen. Her face had a big smirk, like she'd just won a game. Her eyes were shiny with excitement, and she looked proud, too proud. Maria's stomach twisted. She knew this was trouble. Big trouble. Karen couldn't wait. She stepped forward, pointing at Maria like she was on TV. "She's lying about that kid," she shouted, loud enough for the whole street to hear. "He's not hers, I know it." Her voice was sharp, like a mad dog barking. The cops turned to Maria, waiting. They didn't say anything, just stood there, looking at her with serious faces. Liam peeked out from behind Maria's leg, confused. "Mommy," he whispered, clinging to her pants. He didn't understand why Karen was yelling or why police were at their house. Maria's heart hurt seeing him scared, but she didn't let it show. She took a deep breath, slow and steady, and then she smiled. Not a scared smile. Not a mad smile. A strong smile. The kind that said, "You've messed with the wrong mom." "Officers," Maria said, her voice calm and clear, "Liam's my son. Born to me and my husband. My husband's overseas right now, working. He's white, I'm not simple as that." She kept her eyes on the cops, not even looking at Karen. The officers nodded a little, like they were listening. But Maria wasn't done. She saw Karen's smirk still hanging there, and she knew calm words weren't enough. Karen was too sure, too loud. So Maria decided it was time. Time to shut this down for good. "But since Karen's so curious," she said, her voice getting a tiny bit louder. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. The cops watched. Karen watched. Even Liam watched, still holding her leg. Maria tapped her phone a few times, then turned it around. On the screen was a picture, a happy one. It showed a man with blue eyes, just like Liam's, grinning big. He was wearing a soldier's uniform, all green and tan, with a cap tilted on his head. In his arms was a tiny baby Liam, wrapped in a blanket, smiling up at his dad. "That's my husband," Maria said, pointing at the man. "And that's Liam when he was a baby. Taken 4 years ago. We're a family. Always have been." The cops leaned in, looking at the picture. They nodded again, bigger this time. The hat guy even smiled a little. "Cute kid," he said softly. But Maria still wasn't done. She looked right at Karen now, her eyes sharp like a hawk. Karen's smirk was wobbling, but she didn't say anything, not yet. Maria kept going. "And by the way," she said, her voice strong and steady, "I'm a lawyer. I work with people like her every day." She nodded at Karen, who froze. "I know all about false accusations, saying stuff that's not true to hurt someone. It's wrong. And it's trouble." She let that sink in. The cops turned to Karen, their eyebrows going up high. False accusations. That was a big deal. A legal deal. And Maria wasn't just a mom, she was a lawyer who knew the rules. Karen's face changed fast. The smirk fell off like it was never there. Her cheeks turned red, bright as a tomato. Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish out of water. She didn't know what to say. She thought she had Maria all figured out, thought she could win this fight. But now she looked small. The cops didn't look happy with her anymore. The no-hat guy crossed his arms, staring at her. "You called us about this?" he asked, his voice low. Karen stammered, I just thought something wasn't right." But it didn't sound strong anymore. It sounded weak. Scared, even. Maria stood tall, her phone still in her hand, Liam still by her side. She didn't yell. She didn't need to. The truth was out, and it was big. Bigger than Karen's loud mouth. The picture showed her family, her real, happy family. And the lawyer part? That was the bombshell. Karen didn't expect that. No one did. The neighbors who'd been peeking out their windows, watching the police lights, didn't know Maria was so strong. But now they'd see. Karen had poked the wrong person, and it was all falling apart for her. Liam tugged at Maria's hand. "Cookies?" he asked, his voice small but hopeful. Maria looked down and smiled again, this time soft and warm. "Yeah, buddy," she said. "Let's finish our cookies." She didn't even look at Karen anymore. She didn't have to. The cops were handling it now. They turned to Karen, their faces serious. "Ma'am," the hat guy said, "we need to talk to you." Karen's red face got redder. She took a step back, but there was nowhere to go. The smirk was gone for good. Maria had won, not with fighting or shouting, but with truth. Big, shiny truth. And this was just the start of everyone finding out who she really was. The police officers didn't mess around. They turned to Karen, their faces serious, like teachers when you break a rule. "Ma'am," the one with the hat said, his voice strong and clear, "you can't just call us over rumors. That's not how this works." He crossed his arms, looking at her like she'd done something silly. Rumors were just talk, made up stories, and calling the police because of them. That was a big no-no. The other officer, the one without a hat, nodded. "Yeah," he said, quieter but still mad. "You're wasting our time. Next time, mind your own business." His words were like a warning, a little slap on the wrist to tell Karen to stop. They didn't yell, but they didn't have to. Karen got the message loud and clear. Karen didn't look so big anymore. Her red face got even redder, and her shoulders slumped, like a balloon losing air. She tried to talk back, muttering stuff under her breath. I thought, it's not my fault," she said, her voice all shaky. But no one cared about her excuses. The cops didn't even look at her anymore. They shook their heads, turned around, and walked back to their car, the red and blue lights still flashing. Karen stood there for a second, alone on the grass, then slinked away like a sneaky cat caught stealing food. She shuffled back to her house, her head down, muttering to herself. But the damage was done. She'd made a big mess, and now everyone could see it. Maria watched from the porch for a moment, Liam still holding her leg. She didn't say anything to Karen. She didn't need to. The truth had won, and that was enough. "Come on, buddy," she said to Liam, her voice soft and happy again. "Let's finish those cookies." Liam grinned, his blue eyes sparkling. "Yay, cookies," he cheered, bouncing back inside. Maria followed him, closing the door behind her. The sirens faded away as the police car drove off, and soon, the house was quiet again, just the sound of Liam giggling and the oven beeping. They went right back to baking, like nothing had happened. Maria rolled out more dough, and Liam pressed his little star shapes into it. The sweet smell filled the air, and they sang their cookie song again. For them, the day was good again. But outside? Oh, things were changing fast. Word spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. People loved to talk, and this was big news. Neighbors who'd listened to Karen's silly stories, the ones about Liam not being Maria, started feeling dumb. They'd believed her whispers, her pointing, her something's fishy nonsense. But now they knew the truth. Maria wasn't just some mom Karen could pick on. She was a fighter, a real one. A mom and a lawyer who stood up tall and showed everyone what was what. The people who used to stare at Maria and Liam didn't stare anymore. Well, not in a mean way. Now they looked at her different, like she was someone special. Pretty soon, things flipped all the way around. The same neighbors who'd whispered about Maria started whispering about Karen instead. "Can you believe she called the police?" one lady said to another over the fence. "What a silly thing to do," a man muttered while walking his dog. Karen wasn't the boss of the neighborhood anymore. People avoided her now. When she walked outside to water her flowers or get her mail, no one waved. No one stopped to chat. They'd turn away quick or pretend they didn't see her. Karen's big plan to make Maria look bad had backfired big time. Now she was the one who looked silly, and she didn't like it one bit. Maria didn't let it get to her head, though. She didn't walk around bragging or saying, "I told you so." That wasn't her way. She just kept being herself, kind, strong, and quiet. The next day, she took Liam to the park again. The sun was out, and the swings were free. Liam ran ahead, shouting, "Push me, Mommy." Maria laughed and followed him, just like always. But this time, something was different. A lady on a bench waved hello, a real, friendly wave. "Hi, Maria," she called. Maria waved back, surprised. Then a dad walking by smiled and said, "Nice day, huh?" Maria nodded. "Yeah, it is," she said. Even a little girl with pigtails ran up and gave Liam a high five before running off to play. Later that week, something even bigger happened. Mrs. Carter, an older lady from down the street, knocked on Maria's door. She had gray hair and a soft voice. "Maria," she said, holding a plate of muffins, "I'm sorry. I heard Karen's stories, and I shouldn't have listened. You're a good mom." Maria smiled, soft and kind. "It's okay," she said. "Thanks for the muffins." Mrs. Carter nodded and left, but Maria could tell she meant it. More people started doing stuff like that. Waving, smiling, saying hi. Some even said sorry, just like Mrs. Carter. They'd believed Karen's nonsense, but now they knew better. Maria didn't hold it against them. She didn't need to. Life was good again, better, even. Karen. She stayed quiet after that. She didn't peek over the fence anymore. Didn't take pictures. Didn't whisper to anyone. She'd learned her lesson the hard way. The police warning stuck with her, and so did the way people looked at her now. She wasn't in charge anymore. She was just a lady who'd made a big mistake. Sometimes Maria would see her outside, watering her plants, but Karen never looked up. She kept her head down, like she wanted to disappear. And maybe she did. Maria and Liam kept living their life. They baked cookies, went to the park, played with trucks in the yard. The stares were gone. The whispers were gone. Instead, there were smiles and hellos. Word had spread not just that Maria was Liam's mom, but that she was tough. A lawyer. A fighter. Someone you don't mess with. People like that. They respected it. And Maria? She didn't need to shout about it. She didn't need to show off. She'd won by being herself, by standing up when it mattered and letting the truth do the rest. The neighborhood felt different now. Lighter. Nicer. Kids played, dogs barked, and the ice cream truck still came by. Maria and Liam would get their cones chocolate for him, vanilla for her and sit on the porch, watching the world go by. Justice was served, but not with yelling or fighting. It was served with quiet strength, a phone picture, and a few calm words. Karen had lost, and Maria had won fair and square. And that's the thing, friends, sometimes the loudest people don't really have much to say. Think about it. Karen was loud. She yelled, pointed, and made a big fuss. She acted like she knew everything, like she was the boss of the whole neighborhood. But what did she really have? Just whispers. Just silly stories she made up in her head. And Maria? She didn't need to be loud. She didn't scream or shout or stomp her feet. She just stood there, tall and strong, and let the truth do all the talking. That's what won in the end, not big words or big fights, but the simple, quiet truth. It's like a little seed that grows into a big tree. You don't hear it growing, but one day, it's taller than everything else. Maria showed us something cool. She didn't let Karen's mean words knock her down. She didn't run away or hide. She stayed calm, even when the police showed up, even when everyone was staring. She had Liam by her side, and she knew who she was: a mom, a wife, a lawyer, a fighter. She didn't need to prove it to Karen with yelling. She proved it with facts: a picture on her phone, a few smart words, and a big smile. That's power. Real power. The kind that doesn't need to make noise to be strong. It's the kind of power we can all have, even when things get tough. So here's something to think about. Next time someone tries to judge you, maybe because of how you look, or who you love, or what you do, remember Maria. Maybe they'll say you're too tall, too short, too loud, too quiet. Maybe they'll say you don't fit in their little box. That's okay. You don't have to fight them with fists or shout them down. You don't have to be like Karen, all noise and no sense. You can be like Maria instead. Stand tall. Know who you are. Let the truth be your voice. Because the quiet ones, they're the ones who win in the end. They don't need to show off, they just are, and that's enough. Think about your own life for a minute. Has someone ever been mean to you for no good reason? Maybe a kid at school said something silly about your clothes or your hair. Maybe a grown-up looked at you funny because you're different. It happens to lots of us. It's not fun. But here's the secret: those people? They're like Karen. They think they're big, but they're not. They're just loud. And you? You can be the Maria in your story. You don't have to let their words stick to you. You can shake them off, keep going, and show the world who you really are. Maybe you're good at drawing, or running, or making people laugh. Maybe you're kind when no one else is. That's your strength. Hold on to it, and don't let anyone take it away. Karen thought she could win by being loud and pushy. She thought pointing fingers and calling the police would make her right. But she was wrong. All her noise just made her look small. And Maria's quiet way? It made her look big, bigger than Karen, bigger than the whispers, bigger than the stares. That's a lesson for all of us. You don't need to be the loudest in the room to be the strongest. Sometimes, the softest voice is the one people hear the most. Sometimes, the person who doesn't fight back with anger is the one who wins the fight. What happened to Karen was fair, don't you think? She tried to hurt Maria with lies, but the lies fell apart. The police told her to stop. The neighbors turned away from her. She didn't get a prize or a pat on the back, she got a big, fat lesson. And Maria? She got her peace back. She got her happy days with Liam, baking cookies and playing at the park. She didn't need to rub it in Karen's face. She just kept living her life, being a great mom and a strong person. That's justice. Not loud justice with yelling and jail, but quiet justice that feels right. Karen got what she deserved, and Maria got what she earned: respect. So what about you? What do you think? Did Karen get what was coming to her? Was it fair that she ended up alone while Maria ended up winning? I'd love to hear your ideas. Drop them in the comments below. I read every single one, and they make me smile. Maybe you've got a story of your own about a loud person who learned a lesson, or a quiet person who turned out to be super strong. Share it with me. And if you like this tale about Maria and Karen, stick around. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. I've got more stories coming, fun ones, wild ones, ones that'll make you cheer. I'll see you there. Before I go, here's one last thing to carry with you. Life's full of Karens, people who think they know everything and want to tell you who you should be. But it's also full of Mariahs, people who know who they are and don't let the noise stop them. Be a Maria. Be yourself, strong and steady, even when the world gets loud. Because at the end of the day, the truth always wins. It doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be there, shining bright. And you? You've got that shine inside you too. Let it glow, and watch how far it takes you. See you next time, friends. Keep being awesome, keep being you, and don't let anyone tell you different. The quiet ones always come out on top, just wait and see.